Hello everyone, welcome to Yamaguchi Japan Speaking Tube Radio. I'm your host, Dr. Issa. This is episode 36, I think. So wait a minute, I'm now checking the episode. I've already done till, 35. Okay, this is 36, 036. So I will talk about in this episode how studying abroad, studying in foreign countries as an English learner. So that it is a point. We can improve our other languages, second languages, live in where the language is spoken. So it is very interesting for everyone who learning, especially in Japan, who learning English. So we can, if I can go to abroad, if I can go to Australia or England or America, in the United States, my English skill is dramatically will be improved because of studying abroad. But I think it's absolutely wrong idea. It's my opinion, but I think everybody who master with struggling English should agree my opinion. The most effective way is studying, of course. To study English is the best way, not just to living in Australia, living in the United States. And so, to be honest, I see a lot of people who, even if they lived or they are living now, even if now, abroad, they cannot, that kind of people can't speak English very well. And on the other hand, I know some people who didn't live in abroad, who have been living in Japan for all of their lives, and now they are living in Japan, but their English skills very good. And on the furthermore, they sometimes don't have any opportunities very much to use English, and their occupation is something not related with using English. But anyway, they are studied very hard. They are studying very hard. They have been studying very hard. So, but I think it's my conclusion that studying abroad is not an effective way to improve English skills. Absolutely, I think so. But sometimes a little bit effective for the people studying English very hard, even nevertheless wherever they live. That kind of person, for that kind of person, it's effective to go to abroad. because they are learning by themselves, using CDs or using books, paperbacks. I mean, using textbooks of English, and then they have opportunities. There are plenty of opportunities to use English. That's very good because there is an input training and output training, and I think in that case, only in that case, with studying by ourselves, by themselves, and living in abroad, it's possible that it's effective way. But anyway, the studying by themselves, by ourselves, is necessary to master other languages, not our mother tongue. I mean, anyway. And I thought I lived in Australia for around 1 hour. Sorry, I made a mistake again. 1 year. So exactly 11 months and 2 weeks. It's based on my experience. I can say that. Something rather than beside just English skill as a language, I learned, for example, how to greet each other, greeting, and I mean hi or good morning, Mr. or Ms. Or I think nobody said Mr. or Ms. or Miss or Mrs. or Doctor or Professor, some Professor, blah blah. Nobody said that kind of titles, so I'm very surprised. And even if our supervisors, for calling my supervisors, Australian students say just a nickname or just a first name. It's impossible in Japan. It's impossible, We have to, in Japan, we have to put titles, especially for teachers or professors, professor something, Mr. something. We have to, otherwise it's very rude, or it seems like that kind of people seems to be arrogant, not elegant, arrogant, very rude, I mean, or bold. Anyway, bold. Yeah, okay, alright. Very difficult pronunciation. Not bold. Bold and bold is very different. Anyway, so anyway, that kind of thing I can learn from living in other countries. And so the patterns, some kind of patterns, generally speaking, not the individual, but general Australians have that kind of pattern to thinking, and I found that generally speaking, it's very stereotype, but compared to Japanese, it's very clear. It was very clear. They explain, explanation is very important and any directions must be explained clearly. I mean, the receiver of directions must understand the responsibility. That kind of responsibility is for the people who explain or direct, or suggest. It's very important. It's so important. Not the responsibility of listeners. In Japan, it's opposite. And of course, as like Japanese, how to convey, how to tell, must be concerned, not vulgar, not rude, and as possible as we can, avoid to give negative shock to the listeners. The belly. Sometimes we have to concern about that kind of thing. It's like a Japanese. Australian is very kind and gentle, like Japanese in that point, and the explanation is very important. And we have to explain clearly, understandable, in Australia, not in Japan. In that point, it's very nonsense in Japan. Because I think Japanese is almost the same race. Not all, but almost all. Japanese are very only one one thought. Only one race, I think. Only one tribe. So usually we can understand without explanation. We have a same. I have. What should I do? What should I say? Similarity of something. Premises. Yeah, I think that kind of expression. I cannot remember the exact words. But Australians in Australia, not just pure Australian. There is no pure Australian except for indigenous man 200 years ago or 300 years ago, or other the white Englishman, Englandman came to Australia, who was punished by stole breads from grocery stores of London or something. I don't know. Yeah, that kind of ancestor, not ancestor, that kind of child and grandchild and the next generation, the next generation lived, settled in Australia, and recently as Asian people has coming to Australia, especially Korean and Chinese people. There were a lot of the Korean people in Brisbane, Australia, when I lived in Australia. I don't know now, but there were few Japanese people in Brisbane. Anyway, so it's so extremely important to talk clearly, explain or describe very clearly with logical language, logically. Otherwise, very difficult. It's not easy to make communicate among the different race or different they have a very different background, I think, or background and have a thought of way of thinking. So I like it. It's very good for foreigners. Very kind. In that point, Japanese are very unkind for foreigners. In that point, because they are Japanese. Of course, I'm one of Japanese. Japanese sometimes avoid explain clearly, just imply very subtle way. And so, for example, when we refuse the counterpart's offer, or decline, maybe Australian say, or American, or other countries people say, I'm awfully sorry, but I have to decline your offer because we don't have enough staff. And that's the normal way to decline, and say clearly we have to decline. They say, and put the reason. But in Japan, nobody say the reason, and so sometimes nobody say, we cannot, we never say that direct way, we have to decline or something. We just say that like that. I think it's might be difficult. That's all. which means we have to decline because we don't have enough staff. Is it very difficult? So the foreigners living in Japan must analyze, must analyze and must read between the sentence and the facial and vocal expression. Just a sentence uttered. Just a sentence Japanese uttered is just one clue to analyze or to deduct. Deduction is very difficult. You must be Sherlock Holmes. It's beyond. The difficulty is beyond mastering Japanese language, mastering Japanese communication. So, but I think it's very interesting. If I were not Japanese, I would be interested in that kind of communication. Just put and points to points, Almost illogical, but I'm sure there is some kind of logic, Japanese logic, only Japanese can understand. And sometimes, even if Japanese cannot understand, especially recently, that the example I've mentioned before, to be declined or something, we can understand, all Japanese can understand if your counterpart say it's very difficult. I think it's difficult. Yeah, that person decline my offer. We can easily understand. But sometimes very complicated implications. There are a lot of that kind of very subtle way, very too subtle to understand, to read, So I sometimes think is it okay? And I think it's better even for us to explain more clearly. Sometimes I think it's very hectic. Okay, it's already 20 minutes. The longest episode, I think. Okay, thank you for listening to Speaking Tube Radio. Have a nice day. Parete.